Amber Heard cannot let it go. She has filed an appeal after losing her motion last week for a new trial. She first tried to get the trial judge to set aside the verdict. And she had like a new interesting curveball. I mean, she's asserting all the same stuff as before. You know, like it's unfair, you shouldn't. But she said in the motion, juror number 15 is a problem. Juror number 15 was a 77-year-old man who was not the one they wanted. No, reverse that. Juror number 15 was a 52-year-old man, right? Trying to get it. Yeah.
That's the one who showed up, yes.
It was the younger guy, but they had subpoenaed, you know, you get your jury summons, the 77-year-old dad. And the two guys have the same name, they're father and son, they live in the same house. And so the younger guy showed up, and the older guy should have, and he wound up getting picked, and he served. And on this basis, Mark, she says that they should throw out the verdict? How do you even get from A to B?
Yeah, that seems bizarre. I don't know that state's specific law, if there's something in there that I don't know about, but ultimately I don't think so, because whoever showed up, whether it be a potato or the guy's son, they then vetted him and had full opportunity, both sides did, including the judge, to ask questions to determine whether they can render a fair and impartial impartial decision. Verdict. And they did, and thus he was admitted on the jury. I don't think this is going to do anything.
Maybe it was Toiletta. Maybe that's who first got
that. No, Columbia.
Both of them. It was 15 and 14, respectively.
If you're just tuning in, Megan's just quoting random stripper names.
Welcome to Kelly's Court. That's what Jonna. They say, Amber Heard's lawyers say Virginia law is very, extremely is the word, strict about juror identities. And they say this case of mistaken identity is grounds for a mistrial.
They are so reaching. You know, if I could talk to Amber Heard, I would shake her by the shoulders and say, please quit while you're behind, because that's where she is. Now, on the juror issue, the person who should be the most upset right now is the father who actually got summoned but didn't serve, because he might get summoned again. And nobody likes jury duty. So he should be like, give me my pass. But I agree with Mark. Jurors, it's not a game show. You don't walk into a courthouse, sit down, and all of a sudden you're a juror. There's voir dire, there's questions by the judge, there's written questions, and the summons go out just randomly. Like, you know, they go to whatever, the voter election board, and out they go. And so it's not like they're handpicking the jurors who are going to be possibly seated on a jury, number one. So it really doesn't matter who shows up. And number two, what's Amber's endgame here? I think she's trying to save face, yes, but ultimately she just doesn't want to have this $10 million judgment hanging over her head. And there are better ways to get out from under that than doing what she's doing and incurring more attorney's fees when she can't afford to pay the attorney's fees to date. She needs to have a little heart-to-heart with her ex-husband and say, what's it going to take for you not to come after me for this judgment? Because if you're going to come after me, I might go bankrupt, or whatever other option she has to run from this judgment for the rest of her life. So that's a better course of action for her.
Yeah,
if that's what she wants to do.
When you're in a hole, stop digging. But she's got to, she's trying. Like, she has a terrible verdict against her right now, which her lawyer says she cannot afford to pay. So it's like, and the lawyer is supposed to be getting paid by an insurer, because when you get sued like this in a civil court, generally you have insurance that will defend you. And if you settle or get a verdict against you, the insurance company will pay, which is why Don Lemon can say publicly, in my opinion, that he didn't pay anything to his accuser. Is I bet you dollars to donuts it was the insurance company. Okay, that's another case. But anyway, back on this case, her insurance company's telling her to take a walk too. So the insurance company doesn't want to pay anything. So she really is in a pickle. We'll get to the insurance company in a second, maybe. But Mark, she's going to go in there on appeal, and she's going to say, among other things, I believe, based on what we heard from her lawyer, unfair. Social media was out of control. This jury was influenced. I believe they listened to the Twitter mob and didn't listen to the evidence. And as a result, she didn't get a fair trial. So far, the appeal is only 2 pages, and it says, the court made errors that prevented a just and fair verdict consistent with the First Amendment. We are therefore appealing.
Yeah, deny. Here, denied meaning they're not going to do anything that can disturb the verdict on those grounds. I'm going to make the strongest argument. It doesn't mean it will prevail, but her strongest argument, follow me here, is that the jury did find in her favor on the countersuit for $2 million. the substance of which would suggest that there was some credibility to the fact that she was a victim, because when the attorney claimed that she manufactured the whole thing, apparently they found in her favor and said that was not right. So if there is some shred of evidence or belief that she believed that she was a victim, then she writes that statement from the position of someone who believes that they're an abused person, and thus they have the First Amendment constitutional protection afforded to all those who write things. Now, obviously, the argument on the other side, which I'm going to get in the hate mail, because boy, did I get it during the trial when I raised that argument, just as a lawyer, is, no, they found that you can't make it up and it was all not accurate and she just lied. But then what about that verdict that she got in her favor? What does that say?
Well, I know what it says. It says, we think you're a hot mess liar. You made up this whole thing against Johnny Depp.
They said that in their verdict. You saw that? Hot mess?
Yes, I read that. You got to read between the lines. You learn later when you've been practicing longer. It's a joke because Mark can run circles around me legally. But I think it was saying that representative Johnny Depp who went out there, the agent who went out there and said, you created a fake scene. Like you messed up your apartment to try to make it look extra bad when the cops got there. That was bullshit. Like that, there's no evidence you did that. You may have made up all this other stuff, but we don't believe you created a fake crime scene. They didn't prove that. So we're going to say that was defamation by Johnny Depp's representative, and therefore he gets pinned with the $2 million. I think they were just looking for a compromise just to say, like, I'll give her something a little so we look fair.
Maybe. I don't know.
That explains the split to me. That like they did not believe her, and even one of the jurors has given an interview to a news outlet saying we never believed any of her claims of abuse. We knew that she was acting. We did not believe her. So
the mistake, I really don't. I don't know if it's been said, but the mistake was she was so poorly prepared to testify. He was honest and open, unbelievably. All she needed to do was sit down and say, "Oh, there were things that I did that I'm embarrassed. Yes, the poop was my job. I did that. I said horrible things to him." She didn't admit anything. And thus, when she had claims that they could have embraced potentially, supported by her sister, supported by some of the audio recordings, they just rejected her outright. She wasn't prepared at all, because being abused or feeling abused, that's a very kind of abstract term. It could be verbal, it could be physical. They would have accepted it to some extent, I think, maybe, if she had just been open and honest about other stuff, but she wasn't.
No, Megyn, I disagree. I think she was over-prepared. Her testimony came across so damn rehearsed that it was almost, you think that she learned a whole new script for it. And the jury didn't buy it, and the public didn't buy it. And you know what? And the fact that her team thinks that maybe social media didn't do her any favors, I think social media did do her favors, because they were so hard on her based on what everybody was watching that I actually started to feel sorry for her. So if I'm feeling sorry for her and I'm an ice queen, then the jury might have started to feel a little sorry for her too. That's why she got her little $2 million.
No. Sympathy team of one. She was crucified on social media. My kids were bringing me all the TikToks. She was crucified.
It was delightful for those who were getting a kick out of it, but it actually did make me feel sorry for her because it was so relentless.
But I mean, too bad, because that's not a grounds for appeal. First of all, the jurors are not supposed to be looking at social media unless the defense, Amber Heard, has proof they did. She's just, she's throwing darts without a real target. And secondly, she started the PR war. She started it. She's the one who called TMZ and said, "Take pictures of me outside of the." She did. They proved that at trial. So you cannot, as I said in my talking points the day after the verdict, live by the sword, die by the sword. You can't start the PR war, lose it, and then cry, "I'm a victim and this is unfair."
Well, I disagree. No. I got to disagree with Megyn. You could start it if it persists and that then influences the jury, which they cannot prove. That's a different story. They can't prove it. That's the problem. You could start it. Prove it. And if that somehow adversely affects the jury because it continues and somehow their verdict is based upon a TikTok that they saw or other, influences other than the evidence and the law, then you've got an argument. unfortunately, they're not going to be able to prove it here.
Gathering around the dinner table has been the catalyst for change since the beginning of time. Ronald Reagan once said, all great change in America starts at the dinner table. If we can return to eating meals together as a family, maybe we can create the conversation and change we'd like to see in ourselves, in our country. Perhaps it feels a little overwhelming to get everyone together and still make a great meal. But Good Ranchers has got your back. They will make it easy for you. Pull out a Good Ranchers package of beef, chicken, or seafood. You season with a little salt and pepper, or you won't need to season at all if you get the pre-marinated kind, which I love. And then you cook it however you want. Tastes amazing. Every box you get is superior quality, flavor, and value. Good Ranchers is a company that supports American agriculture and business. You're already buying meat, so why not support an American company like Good Ranchers? Use my code Megyn to get 30% off $30, I should say, off your order, plus free express shipping. Make gatherings at the table easy and fun with Good Ranchers. Go to goodranchers.com/Megyn to bring your family and friends to the table and eat some seriously delicious food. goodranchers.com/MEGYN. Hey, thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.